Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Good evening and welcome to Men on Monday. It's good to have all of you with us as we get started with our show for today. Welcome to Monday. It is the 17th day of July, 17th day of the best month of the year. If you choose to differ, that's okay. But it's good to be back with you. I'm your host, Marissa. Yes, they call me Lady M. It's good to be back with you. We've been on a break for a while, but I must congratulate and thank the gentlemen for holding the fort down and sharing with you as we have been looking at the issue of fatherhood. And some truths were explored. Some we agree with, some we don't agree with. But we are glad that some truths were explored, and we were, for those who were listening, that they were challenged about fatherhood. Now, I want to say thanks to our gentleman today, Bishop Mark, and he's the leader of Love and Light Ministries, for those of you who don't know. Then we have Minister Kevin. He is from Canada and World Changers Worship Center. And Minister Sinclair Brown with us this evening of Healthy Cottage. Behind the scenes, we've got Brian with us this evening. We want to say thanks to all of you for joining us. Now, as we get started, today we're talking about blended families. This is a topic that seems to be dear to the heart of one of our gentlemen. And, you know, as a team, we decided that we will look at that issue today. And blended families, they are a real part of our communities of recent. It is real that families have become blended, whether it's through divorce, whether it's through death, whether it's through remarriage, whether it's through um, breakdown in relationships, whatever the reason. But blended families have now become a real part of our community. And the truth is that they've always been a part of our community. Oftentimes, you would have a father who is in one household and have children in another household. You generally, it is the father, but we've seen more so with mothers also who have multiple children and maybe children in one household, another one also. But today we are talking about blended families and the realities of such. We're going to look at the issues. And are you really ready for the blended family lifestyle? So, want to say welcome to the gentlemen. Good evening to you, Minister Kevin, Minister Sinclair, Bishop Mark, and of course, not with us is Minister Edison. So, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Lady. Yeah, good, Ben. Good evening, gentlemen, and everyone else who is here with us tonight.
Always waiting, everyone else. Good evening, good evening. Blessing to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. Can you hear me clearly?
Right. A little better, right?
Good. All right. Looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think Lady M has disappeared.
Disappeared. Well, I guess we could start then.
Yes, please. So I guess I will punch the questions then until she comes back.
Yes.
But what I'm doing, my father here at the moment, the tech of technology. My son is playing a basketball game here against US at our gymnasium. So I'm actually literally watching him at the gymnasium while here doing ministry. So God is good. So if you can't hear me, let me know. Yeah. So last week we were talking about blended families, and I think at the end we got very heated when we started to talk about the different combinations of blended families and fathering. Okay, here is Marissa back with us again. So yes, it was filling in for you. So you could jump right in. Lady was just leading to tie on to last week's discussion. Maybe start to get a little deeper with the conversation. So
Yeah,
the
that's
bottom is
good.
back to you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you, gentlemen. So let's talk about blended families. I want everyone to explain for me what they understand as blended families. Is it that the father has to be in the home, the mother has to be in the home? What is it for you when you look at a blended family? Because I found that from discussions, people understand blended families differently. So what do you understand as blended families? Let's start with Minister Kevin.
Go
Okay,
ahead,
go ahead.
Kevin. Yeah, Kevin could probably be the best person to start. We'll go with him.
Why am I the best person?
I guess because you kind of have some you and Sinclair have this situation that you live through. I have one daughter and she's from the same and so, but even if Kevin, I'll just drop in what I think is that we had discussed last time that there are various combination of a blended family where as a matter of fact, where society is concerned, the blended family can be very, very but we are looking at what the traditional, what we believe as believers, man and woman, etc., but blended in terms of the children. And then we also talked about the fact that the blending has a lot to do too with not just the difference that you have a parent with children and parents with different children and that thing, but we also talked about the fact that there are different beliefs, they bring different experiences, they bring different culturalization, as I call the word, how they've been brought up to the scenario so that you can have the blendedness in so many different ways. I think we kind of looked at that last time. Now you guys can
Go
add to
ahead,
that.
Mr. Kevin.
Mm-hmm. And to just continue with what you were saying, Bishop Mark, blended family, man, woman, children, might be from different, like you said, different, experiences.
Yeah, backgrounds.
we have divorce, death, all of these different factors. But when I think about blended families, I hear what I hear personally. And you know, when I think about how challenging it can be to navigate through blended family, we have to really ask ourselves the question, are you ready for one? We really have to ask ourselves that question, you know, because the reality is that not everybody is built to handle a blended family. And not because the man look good and the woman look good and everything seems nice means that it's going to work. It means, to me, you have to prepare yourself. It's a preparation process. You know, sometimes when I think about even doing a driving test, you study, you prepare, you do the necessary stuff that you need to do to prepare for the test. But the thing about marriage is sometimes it is that we go into it with this feeling that everything is going to be okay, that
Correct.
I love her, she loves me, and so it's going to be perfect. We're going to create this beautiful home and everything is going to run smoothly. But the reality is that it is not necessarily going to happen that way, especially when there is blended family situation. You know, last week we talked about how, you know, sometimes we have children coming into a blended relationship where, you know, the age difference makes a big factor, because children at a certain age is going to relate differently. But one of the things as I pondered about it over the, you know, especially today, one of the things I thought about was how difficult it can be for the children. Many times we look at the transition as for us as adults,
Parents. Yeah.
from the parents, from the position of parenting, but
Mm-hmm.
not many times do we think about how it is going to
That's
affect
the
the
children.
children. And the
True.
reality is that many times the children don't have a say in it.
Mm-hmm.
They are just a part of the package, so they have no real say. Oh, I love her, she loves me, and we're doing this. You have no say. And so when that happens, it can make it very difficult for the gelling of the relationship to
Family.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we heard from Minister Kevin. Let's hear.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's hear Minister Sinclair, because I'm gonna jump back at some things that you said there, Minister Kevin. Go ahead, Sinclair.
Yeah.
My idea of blended family, I'm looking at the fact we're talking about parenting one, because parenting one, we're talking about step parenting two, and then blended families. Because step parenting is is additional to, blended family, sorry, is additional to step parenting. Because
Mm-hmm.
you could be a step parent, but you're not bringing any children into the space. So when you got children coming into the space now, coming from different aspects, which is different to step parenting. Step parenting is, me parenting a child is not mine. But then we talk, I'm bringing children, and this person bringing children. Now we doing this whole
Yeah.
Abraham, Sarah, Hagar, Ishmael, type of thing. Jacob, with Leah and Rachel, and then they're so you got this 80 family type of thing, trying to get these people to get along. And this
Right.
body is my mother, and this body is my father. And this is a different combination. Abraham had a blended family, Jacob had a blended
Mm-hmm.
family, which is a different dynamic, and it becomes more difficult because if you look at Abraham's situation, despite the fact he had to consult his wife, you know what I'm saying? Like any day when girlfriend started to get pregnant, there was an issue in the house. And then when she had her one child, then all of a sudden these two children, it was almost an issue. And then wife, he was like, you know what? She got bounced because she causing issues in the home. So we are seeing the dynamic of a blended family where we got different children from different parents coming together. So a blended family is slightly different to just step parenting. So that's kind of my definition of the blended family. And as Minister Kevin said, honestly, a lot of people do not actually spend time to study these step parenting dynamic. They just figure we love each other, we have Christ, we have the Lord, let's pray and fast, and think it's going to work. No, please, you need to study this dynamic before you get into it.
All right, I'm gonna stick a pin right there, Sinclair. Step parenting, because I know there are some people who don't agree with that terminology, step parenting. There are some people who believe that once you're a parent, their children in the dynamic, we're all parents. I know you might not be the biological mother or father, and I'm one. I believe that if you're a parent, you're a parent. We understand that, yes, you may have the father. If the father is present, if the mother is present, they're still the biological parents. But I say that because when people hear step parenting, sometimes means a hands-off type of mentality. So I'm the step parent, so I can't discipline. I'm the step parent, so I don't provide financially completely. I'm the step parent, so if I wash only my clothes and my children's clothes, I don't wash the other child's clothes. So sometimes step parenting for some seems to be come with that mentality, you know. But I just want to stick that pin there. Do we go with it with the mentality of step parenting, or is it that we're looking at complete parenting? What say you, Bishop Mark?
Well, I see your point and your argument, and I agree with you that again, as you guys said from the time we started, that a lot of times people go into these things before really seeking to understand the dynamics. And you're correct. We go into this. Obviously, if you have that mentality that you're the stepdad, you're always going to say, "Well, look, let the father buy shoes for him. If he wants a shirt, give it to the child." So I agree with you from there. But the other aspect of this that I think that we have to look at is the role of the biological parents now, or how they affect that blended relationship from the outside. Where, for example, I think some of these points were made last time, where the stepdad, which we don't want to use, have to discipline the child, but then the real father, the biological father, has a problem with his techniques or whatever he's doing. Or it could be the wife, the female, and so we have that dynamic also. But I see your point from the stepfather thing. It would be wonderful if we could go into it embracing the child that is not ours without thinking about the step parent mentality. But that is difficult because you know, you would still expect as a, and I try to stay away from the word, but as a step parent, you would still want to know that the child's biological father or mother is involved in that child's life, whether it be financially, supporting, and so on. Because as we mentioned just now, the children, sometimes we don't think about them. So we come together, or the blended family people come together, the parents try to get life work out, and children want to keep quiet. Whatever happen here, we're going to go deal with. And so that is a concern. So the stepdad thing, I think, comes where a guy wants to establish that though he is in for the long haul, though he's in to be daddy, the daddy should take some responsibility. So there's some demarcation.
I want to ask a question here. When do you start becoming a step parent? Is it in the dating stages or marriage?
Well, I think it might come from the date and the time you start.
Same thing too. I was thinking the same thing too, because
Right.
you know, this doesn't catch us unaware, you know. This is not something that you just walk upon and go, wow, I'm step parent. This would have been something that you have discussed in the dating process. And I think one of the things we have to do is that we're not asking the right questions. We're not having the right discussion. You know, we get caught up in this emotion, and we get caught up with the butterfly feeling and all of these things sometimes that we don't. Let's be real. So there are some relationships that happens over a long period of time before it gets to marriage. So you could have been a step parent in the dating process, or call it a common law process, right? And so you get to know the child gets to know you, and then marriage comes afterwards. But then there are some relationship, especially in the church, where it just probably happened for a year. Dating is for a year, dating for several months, and then you're looking at marriage. It is important to me that those necessary deliberate conversations need to happen. Like, what does parenting look like for you? What's your expectation going in? Because it's not something that's will happen overnight. It's not like I see lady Marissa and go, hey, I'm gonna marry you, and we go marry, and then we figure out the rest. It doesn't normally happen that way. So the reality is that many times that we don't deal with the necessary stuff from the beginning is because we don't spend the time focusing on these things. We just feel say it's gonna be all good.
I just want to jump in here before we move forward. The thing is, why I ask that question is because many times people talk about step parenting, but are we dating at that point in time? And I say, let me use myself for instance. Before I would talk to a person a year before they even introduce them to my child. Like they were an easy year before I even begin to introduce her to my child's life because I first had to establish, is this a solid situation before I introduce her to my child's life? And I'm not even talking about, I'm even introduced to not coming introduced as stepmother, anything like that, because I've now established we are serious about this and we are
Right.
going somewhere. You
Right.
understand? Before, because then you must understand each other is no way connected. And next thing, call this buddy Auntie Marissa or Mummy Marissa or Auntie
Okay,
or
yeah.
Uncle St. Clair, Daddy Mark, and they will disappear because we have differences in
Right.
opinions or whatever the case may be. And the child in the midst of this now going like, okay, I just missed the mother, I just missed the dad. We can recover and move on with our lives. So that's why I asked the question. For me, the step parenting dynamic has to have the discussion for certain because it can look different and it's different complexions. And sometimes I think we try to rubber stamp it. But we talk about responsibility and parenting, different to parenting. I do believe that parenting is the term, period. But we know this for a fact. There are women that have given birth to biological children, but don't mother their children. There are men that have sired their children, have not, but don't father, not support. So we have now the dynamic where a person coming in, step parenting, and they, as you said, washing his clothes or washing his children's clothes. Once again, those dynamics should have been established before we got into the relationship. Because if this person
All right, so
doesn't
stick a pin there,
understand,
Sinclair. Stick a pin because we're not
Mhm.
going to run ahead. I want us to establish the thought pattern. Are we going in as step parents with that mentality, or are we going in as parents where we are understanding that we are part of this, not only for the parents or the spouse or the other partner, but particularly we have children involved in this because this is now a blended family. And as we said earlier, a blended family looks different because there are sometimes when a man comes with with children or doesn't come with children, women come with children or they don't come with children. And that blended family now has to create its own dynamic. I want to go to something that Kevin talked about, culture of a home. Are you ready for one? You know, these are some questions that I guess, especially if you experienced it, hearing from Kevin and Sinclair, blended families have been their experience at one point in time in their life, or they're still currently living that. um, what is the importance of having the correct culture? And when I say culture, a culture is a way of life, and every home has its own culture. Some start with devotions in the morning, some start with devotions in the evening. Cultures could be that you spend your Saturdays with your children, or you spend your Sundays with your children. You make sure you have date night, or you don't have date night. Whatever your culture is in your family. How important is it for you to establish that culture? Do we establish it before we've decided that we are going to be husband or wife? Or is it going to be established when we have children now in the picture, when we've decided that we're going to be in a relationship? How important is that culture now to establishing and building your blended family? Because we're asking the question, are you ready for a blended family? Sinclair, jump in there because I know you're gonna lead off with this one. The
Yeah, be
importance of
sure because it was
establishing
long just
culture.
now. I think like anything else, I think honestly, I think people want microwave relationships. That's the truth. Uh, um, like anything else, you're building something. You know, you're building. So many people coming and they will see. Let me say they see my family and they come and say, "Oh, we want to have this model." No, this is stenciled out, and we had to spend time putting it in the pieces how they worked out, how they worked out. You're building a family, you're building a relationship. It is not, oh, this is what this book says. And many times I think we struggle because we're trying to get something done at the beginning. Things take time. And I tell many married couples it takes 13 years before you even begin to blend together. 13 years. Many people give up on the get because we have different opinions and different cultures, and you're bringing children in this space. So the thing about it is that if you are in a relationship, it is for the long haul. Many people want everything right now. So when it comes to the same step parenting, I'm just saying the same thing is that it's going to take. I'm not sure if I'm back in. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. But it's going to take personalities are different. My personality is different. My wife personality is different. And because we have these different personalities, I think it takes time to build up. So I don't think it is one culture, but I think it's I think Kevin said it correctly. I think we have to have ongoing conversations of what we are doing. And I don't think it is a one-stop shop, but I think it is a continuum.
Go ahead.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. You know, I feel like what we're doing many times is that we're trying to paint blended family with the same brush as a relationship without children involved. And so we want the process to mimic that. We want it to look similar in terms of time, in terms of function, and all of these things. And it's totally different. It's a total different thing because, like we have been saying, it's two different family situation coming together, merging, and in that merging process, to create a culture. The culture is what you're going to live out. But in order to live it out, you must start initially talk it out. Put it down on paper, if necessary, what the culture of this relationship is going to be. Like we spoke about it last week, even the concept of disciplining, right? What does that look like? Am I gonna, you know, be as the man feel the need to come in and discipline the child right off the bat? This is my house. I'm the man of the house. You're gonna listen to me and all of these things. That could be who you are, but that's not necessarily what the culture of the relationship needs to be for the marriage to survive. So what we need to do many times is to look at what is needed for the marriage to survive and ask ourselves some honest question. Can I be this person? Can I do these things? Mark you, there are some things that you're gonna encounter while in the relationship that you won't experience at the initial stage. But because you have committed yourself to building, because you have said to yourself, I am all in, you're going to do whatever it takes to make it work and create that culture.
All right. So it's about creating this culture. So this starts in the process of making sure at the courtship stage where we sit down, we have these type of conversations and so forth. But I was asked this question: what happens when you talk about creating a culture and what? And the biological father decides, or the biological mother decides, that what you are doing, they don't agree with. What happens there. I want to say good evening to all of you who are with us and sharing your comments. Feel free to like and to share your thoughts, your comments with us, and we'll seek to respond to those comments as they go. So what happens when we've talked about blended family, we've established that we're going to be building our family, we've brought our children together, we've decided that we're going to have a culture, and we're going to talk about what that culture should look like. What are some of the areas that you need to explore when it comes to developing this culture? What happens then when you have the I don't want to use the word interference, but when you have the contribution of the biological parents who may not agree with everything that's happening?
Is this the biological parent that
The
is in the
gentlemen have
house?
gone silent. Who's going to go
Is,
first?
is it the one that's
Kevin is
in the
asking the
house?
question.
Is it the one that's in the house or outside of the house?
Outside of the house. We have the
Outside.
contribution of the biological parents that are not inside the household.
Okay, so because I am living that I've lived that situation before. I probably can shed some of my experience on that. So I feel that when that kind of a situation happens, it is important for the mother, say for in my example, the mother to have first, this is your house. This is how I feel. This is your house. Even though that man is the biological father or that woman is the biological mother, she is not inside your house. She's outside of your house. Yes, she's the parent, but she is outside. You have created, if she wanted to have dominance or he wanted to have dominance, the relationship would have stayed together. It's not together anymore. So nobody can stay on the outside and dictate to you what happens in your household. You have to this is how I feel. I feel you have to safeguard your household first, and you and your partner need to have those discussions as to how we are going to navigate around this. You know, it's also important, I think, to have some level of transparency where the children understand that your intention, first and foremost, is that you are not trying to replace mom if you're the woman, and you're not trying to replace dad. You know, you are here as a support for that for the child, and you're and possibly, if needs be, to not feel like you're the one who is attacking the situation. Let the biological parent be the one to make most of the headway decision.
Yeah, but Kevin, I tend to agree with what you're saying. See, I think what has to happen is discussion. You know, we talked about it just now. You have to be intentional. That's what I'm trying to find. Intentional with these things, because you were saying, Kevin, the person, if they wanted to have a say, they shouldn't be. You shouldn't have had access out to that person they had in the first place. But that is why it's important that you set boundaries. So as you say, the home doesn't belong to you, sir. This is your son or your daughter, or mom, this is your son or your daughter. But when they're here, this is what we expect. This is where we expect how far your contribution go. It is your child. You can discipline your child. But once the child is in our home, then there are certain things that we're going to have to, you as a parent will say, you're going to have to understand. My spouse now must have some form of authority over your child in his home. So therefore, we are setting these boundaries that I speak. Yes, I don't want to be in a position to be abusing your child, but I must be in a position as the man of the house to be able to speak to the child and expect that if the child doesn't behave, I can speak to you and you would make sure that you do the right thing as a parent, and don't, like, a lot of people go into the thing with a lot of issues too from the past relationship and then try to create problems. So I think discussions must be had long before, and then guidelines and boundaries have to be set from both sides.
Let me throw this in here then. Because what can happen sometimes, because I said, because step parenting is difficult, it's hard, blending family is crazy. But here's the thing is, because let me say I'm the outside person, and I know that, let me say I'm uncomfortable something's happening inside that home. I know they have their sovereignty. And let me say Bishop Mark is the stepfather to my child. But there's something I'm uncomfortable about, despite the fact that you were setting up a situation there. And they said, can I, and I believe that I have a right to language because I'm still supporting my child. I'm still being there. My child have him every other weekend or whatever our program is as far as that is going on. And if I believe that because we are dealing with an uncomfortable situation, I think that I should still have a say with my child in that situation, unless I'm looking to cause a problem, like a legit problem. Let me use, for instance, where a situation where this person's a Christian, and in the mornings the guy step parent gets one in the mornings doing devotions. Child has to get to school. He's not doing 5-minute devotion. He ain't a whole 45-minute, intercessory thing, and the child gets to teach it. You know what I mean? I come in there and say, listen, my man, I understand you Christian, all that, right? My child go get school. You understand? Y'all could be all up in there and setting up programs and that. Listen, my child gotta get school. I can't have my child at that point because my child is not getting school late because you the fourth part of the Holy Spirit. I understand there's different dynamics.
I hear you think here, but shouldn't your despite you want the child to be, you want that situation to be corrected, shouldn't your approach to this scenario be less abrasive and less?
It could be
less
the same, but somebody's going to get abrasive.
Unless
Yeah.
after you have spoken, you ain't getting
Thank
the
you.
results. But I think the
Yeah.
initial thing should be, look, I understand this
Conversation.
happening. Why is
Right.
it happening? Because the way
But
you are
not
look
every
there,
person.
the
But
way you dey look there, you dey ready to break down the door.
of
Probably
course, yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah. You
get
know me.
through
Yeah,
early.
I can't get on doors right now. I use a bull in a China shop right now. I am saying is like seriously, because not every situation when you are the outside person is the
Correct.
people on
Point
the
taken, but
inside.
you know, approach
The
is
people
still
on the
important.
inside. Of course, the
You're
approach
right,
is quite
approach.
important.
Yeah.
But some people come in, and I'm serious, and I will tell you when I'm counseling on step parenting, because some people come in, oh, it's the man now, and especially Christian. Sorry to say, but the man come in, I'm a Christian man. I establishing. No, you know me, my child 6 months ago, bro. You know what I'm saying here? I'm gonna respect you. By any day, I understand you and the madam, y'all love each other and y'all plan to get married. But I've been this girl's father for 12 years. You know coming to the game 9 months. You know what I'm saying? And some people come in too strong. And I try to tell people you can't come in this strong despite the fact whatever you plan to establish. You can't come in here and just push me out of the place like I never existed for 12 years. That's crazy. No, that was saying that I have been a stepfather. I could say this that I have been a head of a also my marriage now. I mean, my married once. Let me be clear. I speak quickly and people misunderstand me. I have only been married once, but I have been the head of a household 3 days, and I have been a stepfather on 3 occasions. So I'm not just speaking objective, I'm talking subjectively. And the step children that I had the part to play with them up to this day, and they've been married 20 years, still respect me to this day. Because I did not come in with this draconian thing of I am the man now. It is kind of a learning process. As many times I try to get to understand. It is not as easy because the truth of the matter is it's probably two parents. This is not just step parenting, but we don't blend it now. And it's a different dynamic altogether. And I want to say this based on Mercy's question is, what about the other person we have a different opinion? Let's go back to two parents. Sometimes we try to establish something and the two parents do not agree. Just on two parents together. Somebody the father want to do something and the mother don't want to do but just two of the same biological parents, and it is hell. How much more difficult now when we extended this dynamic into 4 parents? You understand? We're going with this is 4-parent program because it is a biological mother, biological father, the stepfather, and the stepmother. We now got a whole hot mess, and it is not going to be easy. And that's why I say that when people come in with this thing and they push out other people's opinion, be it the biological mother, the biological father, despite the fact they step parent, unfortunately, we don't choose people, I'm sorry to say, that have sense to parent. So once you have people that are not able to have communication, a proper communication, unfortunately, you have a hot mess. We got people you can't even have a conversation with, right?
Well,
and I understand being a step parent.
That's easy to say. That's easy to say when maybe if you know you have level heads that prevail. Maybe you have 4 parents that decide we can communicate. But this often is the case when you know there's a breakdown in communication between the 2 biological parents of one child. That generally stems from that when you know there's a breakdown in communication. But like you said, if you are doing devotions and you know that you're going to do 45 minutes and that child has to be through the door by 7:15, then in wisdom, do the devotions at night, or shorten the length of time that you're going to be doing the devotions so that you do not sometimes infringe on that other parent's responsibility. I think it's wisdom that has to prevail based on the situation. That is one thing for sure. So these are issues that we need to talk about when you're talking about being together. So we're going to get ready to take a break and share with you some information about Healthy Cottage with St. Clair Brown. We're going to share that information with you. For those of you who are live with us, thank you for joining us. Please comment, share your thoughts, and feel free to like and to share our video this evening as we discuss blended family. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. So we're back, Men on Monday. We are continuing our discussion today on blended families. And for those of you who are with us, Sinclair is right now at a game, right? Or rehearsals or sports, something with his son right now as he shares with us live today on Men on Monday. So we're talking about blended families. We're talking about the importance of communication. And I think that's a big key. We ended there just now, a big key in terms of communication with the outside parents, the biological parents who are not a part of this relationship. So this is going to be at least a 3-part series. We're going to be sharing with you some of the do's and don'ts. These guys will tell you what they learned along the way, so you don't find yourself in the pitfalls should you be heading to a blended family. Some of the things that you need to pay attention to when it comes to communication. Kevin, Sinclair, what are some of the areas that you think need to be addressed? Communication. What are some of the things that we need to talk about? And I'm talking about the couples that are coming together, not the biological parents who are not a part of this relationship, but the couples that is coming together to create a new family. Communication. What are some of the areas that you need to look at, you need to discuss?
If I may start, I'll say this, and just to backtrack a little bit, let's regress, because sometimes we jump the gun in getting into these kind of relationships. I feel one of the things that can be difficult for us to navigate these kind of relationships is if we don't take the time to work on ourselves first. Sometimes you come out of a marriage, and the way the marriage ended, if you don't take the time to get proper counseling and healing from that situation, you will have possibly repeat the same situation, and even it could be probably 10 times even worse in the next one, because now this is a blended marriage, blended family. So I feel that each party, both man and woman, need to take the time and go through counseling. Sinclair is here. Sinclair is a good counselor, but you need to reach out to Sinclair and get the counseling going if that's where you're heading towards, a blended family. Now, also, after individuals have counseled, I feel that you need to counsel together. And because you have already made that decision that you want to take this to the next step, you would have been introduced to the children already. So I think the children needs counseling too, separately from you, because they, especially if they're at a certain age, teenage years, I think is one of the most challenging time for kids, and they need to understand what is going to happen. They need to understand, yes, they many times their parents broke up and they were not in agreement with it. For the most part, we can say that most relationships don't end on mutual terms. Right. Most marriages don't end on mutual terms. So the kids are sometimes still attached to their, most times, or in our cases, attached to their biological parents, and sometimes have great resentment over the fact that the marriage has broken.
That's right.
And they have already developed in themselves that next man that come into mommy life, I'm going to mash it up, because this is the position my dad should be holding. The girl, the same situation on the other end, right? The child could be saying, nobody should be replacing my mother. I am going to make sure that this marriage fail. And children can be just as deviant, probably even more deviant than adults can be. Because when they don't want something, they can be so determined to make sure it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So those things need to happen before we even merge together. We have to have counseling going.
So for you, in terms of communication, counseling is one of the first things that people have to explore. And this is
Yes.
counseling for them to talk about the relationship and also to have a conversation with the children too about where this is going. Is that
Yeah.
for you? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sinclair.
Yes, counseling for certain. These are things I think you need to look at for yourself personally. Your anger management, for certain. Conflict resolution, your parenting skills, finances, financials, and how we're going to look at these financial situations. The logistics of the home, sleeping and those type of things. How we're going to look at the amount of children, where they're going to be sleeping, how sovereign a space we have, how we can allocate spending time together and spending time with my child, or children. You know what I mean? Because that's a dynamic. That's something that hurts a lot of children, where the child had mommy or the child had daddy, but now all of a sudden, I can't get my biological parent. I don't got to share my biological parent with this person plus their child. So it is, and the child can't say anything because I supposed to understand this madness that was happening to me. So those are just some of the main things I think we need to look at. As I said, the whole thing of conflict management, anger management, personalities, finances, and accommodation. Those are just some of the basics going in. Because if you're not good at anger management, you can take it out on the child. You know what I mean? If you have that emotional, where you have this wanting to belong, and all of a sudden there's my man, and when the man's child now is looking for daddy, or don't move, it's me and you, and child outside, and that's crazy stuff. You know what I mean? If you don't have the emotional fabric to be healthy in the space, leave the relationship alone, because you can do more damage to children and everything else. If we are willing to learn, however, instead of going in and saying, the child at the door knocking, let the child knock, child gotta learn that me and you together. You know what I mean? This is unhealthy behavior. We are not ready for parenting. We go into a relationship because we want somebody to love me, and they go in there demanding love, and the children now becomes these outside specimens in the space, and we do more damage because the whole purpose of a marriage is real Christ in the church. If we are not going in with that purpose, we got a problem. A man is going because we want our needs met. I don't minister to our children, step parenting outside the house, whatever. And I think that is the main reason. Many of us don't understand the purpose of marriage. We're going because I want to be loved and I want my emotions met. So I repeat my things of, as you said, where some of the things I think we need to look at our personality differences, our personality, our anger management, finances, logistics within these spaces, and conflict resolution. And I think those are the 5 basics that I think we should be looking into going in to a step parenting situation.
Go ahead, Minister Mark. What do you think are some of the areas that you need to look at? Because you're a counselor.
I think Sinclair have hit most of them. Communication is a very big one, because you can see that's where you really need to start with. You going out with the dates and having a talking about, how much trips you can take, and what vacation you can go on, and how big the wedding is going to be. The discussion has to be at those times how we are going to be able to blend these various things together. And the only way sometimes people, because as you all were talking there, a lot of people come together that are in love, that are not very mature. They're going to love and have got a lot of baggage from past relationships and so on. Sometimes they come into this relationship and still got issues with the other person. It's just that now they're using this relationship to hit back at the other person to show them that they didn't want them. And there's so many other dynamics. So that is why I agree with the gentleman that, if you're serious about this, if you're really serious about the love that you have for one another, then it's important that you get professional help to help you through these stages, to look to see how the children are responding to the dislocation that would have taken place, and know this new environment that they will have to be part of. Sometimes, as Kevin said and Sinclair, they're going into this space under duress, going to prefer to be with mommy or to prefer to be daddy, and so they come into this whole new thing and made up the mind that, listen, we ain't going there. So all of these are things that you would have to take into consideration. A lot of times, when people feeling sweet, when people looking in one another's eyes and sitting before candlelit dinner and romanticizing, they don't realize that after all of that finished, they gotta go in the house and live with all of these things that's a good talk about. I have been in situations where we are counseling people for marriage, and they tell you how they're God, they know that God called them together, and they know that it was God. And I remember one scenario, I said to them, have you all discussed your finances? And there was a pause. She was an accountant. He was a businessman. I asked her straight, did you deal with your finances? And there was a pause. So I told him, well, look, go and sort that one, come back. I would testify today that that marriage never happened. The guy died and they were never able to come back enough time to deal with the finances. So in dealing with this blended family scenario, it is a case of, I think, people admitting that it is something that is going to be something different. It's going to be something relatively new, and therefore you have to get as much information as you can on it. But we also know that there are many people getting these relationships that are not very mature to start with. So we would hope that they will have people who will say to them, look, get this thing done as soon as possible.
So I want to ask this question. My next question is this. You are in a relationship. Maybe you're heading towards marriage. For those of you who are with us, you're heading towards marriage. Maybe because we said at the beginning that blended families, are the result of different mishaps, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a broken relationship, maybe the death of a spouse that has caused you now to be in another relationship. Maybe it's even a broken relationship that has got you there. So you're looking at the fact that children have come from this family before, one relationship before, and now you have another relationship. My question is this. When you think about all of this, shouldn't people just abandon blended families? Because, as Sinclair refers to it as madness, Kevin talked about the challenge of communication and knowing yourself and so forth. So here's my question. When people think about all this, should we not abandon blended relationships? Or as Sinclair calls it, the madness, can we make it through this madness?
I could jump in first. I had a first thought. First, Sinclair's terminology might not be what we all agree with. And secondly, even marriage. You talk about blended family, but even marriage, they're not blending, nobody ain't got the children, nothing.
Thank you. That is crazy.
It's still crazy, as Sinclair said, right? So I don't know that you should abandon it, but I think that you should see it as something just as important as marriage, that it is something that you are going to have to get some information on and learn about, but not to be avoided, because there's some Sinclair's an example. Sinclair has a very solid blended family. I know of them personally. His little son, I know all of his kids, and he has been able to get it done. But as he told you, wasn't easy. Took a lot of learning, took a lot of adjusting, and a lot of times people are not prepared to adjust. People are not prepared to give up. People don't talk when my son come. I've seen this. When you see my son, and don't trouble him, and then one going to bed and let out the man and be happy, and the man has nothing to say when the child doing foolishness, or vice versa. So it shouldn't be avoided, but people should go into it with thinking, not just with the heart pumping thing. Kevin, we ain't hear you. Kevin seemed to be muted.
Yeah,
go ahead.
People must go into it with Wallipa thinking, not just mere surface thinking. I mean, like deep thought, because it's not for the faint of heart. Marriage itself is not even for the faint of heart, more of a blended family. That's some top level, top tier thing, like a top thing. If you're not built for it, don't go there. Don't go there if you're not built for it, because it is going to take the patience of Job at times to make it work. You have to be
preaching, my brother. Say that again. Preach it again, man. Say that again.
It's the truth. You have to be patient, because nothing just happens, and nothing just gonna happen overnight. It's gonna take work, deliberate work, and commitment, and focus, and focus, and focus, and focus, and focus. You can't allow yourself to be distracted. You have to commit to this. And that's a problem that I think one of the problems is that sometimes we go into it not knowing what we're getting ourselves into. I can tell you, when I became when I was a part of a blended family, I can be 100% honest that I did not know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know. I never did the research. I never read. I never did anything. I thought to myself, I am a good dad. I'm a good father to my biological children. So I can guarantee I will be a good father to my stepson. The dynamic was totally different because the culture was different. Parenting style was different. There were so many differences that my mind was blown many times. Like, I don't know how to do this. I recognized afterwards, while being in it, that I was not patient enough. I wasn't patient enough to see what the result is going to look like. I felt like I need it now. You know, we have this advertisement JG went where it says, "My money and I need it now." I felt like I needed it now. You see, because one of the things to like, culture plays a very integral role in this too, you know. So I am from the Jamaican culture where when man walk in, man a man, you're the man of the yard, and nobody must question your authority as man. You know, everything is going to revolve around you, and you're going to change everything because you are the man. So I walk in and I'm like, I'm the man. But it's a Canadian culture, married to a Canadian woman, total different thing. I was not the man. So that question, am I the man? But the reality of the thing was that the culture can play a different, a big role in it. Cultural differences can be a big role. And so you have to be patient. You have to be patient. You know, you can't put time on it. This is what we do sometimes. We want to put time on it, and it might not happen in the time that we design it to happen. It's a full-time life commitment that we're making to this person and to these children, because let's not take it that we're making the commitment just to the mother or just to the father. We are committing to the children as well, to say, when I married your mother, I married you, you are mine. And so I am responsible for you, and I'm going to love you as well as I love your mother. And that is going to take work and patience.
Let me just, and I know we're coming to the end. Very quick. As I said earlier, I know people may think, yeah, I use strong words. Sorry, I use full stops or exclamation marks. Yes. Blended families, I know. It is crazy. It is an ungiving role, because you are now giving yourself to a child, a family. At the end of the day, that child is going to still see the biological parent as a parent. There's a high probability of that. Are you willing to be able to give yourself your time, your resources, your money, your finances into the possibility that person may never see you as a parent? Because many times we want something reciprocated. We are not healthy enough to give without receiving. And as I said, it is madness. And if you are not in that space, I'm telling you, you're going to get hurt big time, because you're now in a position where you're giving to a human being. Yeah. And many times people and the dynamics of the culture is so different, it can hurt you. Are you willing to be hurt to love a child? Are you willing to be, sometimes the child may tell you something. Your spouse may tell you something about that child too. I'm saying to you, that is the biological parent that is in your space. And even if you bring in a child in there, even your biological your child biological mother or father, whatever, and say, oh, look, you're taking care of somebody else's child and not taking care of yours, which is not necessarily true, but it could go that way. Are you willing to take pressure from 4 areas? Not just 1, 4. I'm just saying, my thing when I counsel people that are blended families, I take it through all the rudiments. And I'm telling you, I have a family where it is 7. Sorry, it is him and his wife plus 7 children. Blended, 3 and 3, and then they have 1 together. And if you hear, last we had our marriage seminar, when they shared, people could not believe the harmony between the outside parents and the inside parents. 7 children, not 2, not 3, 7 children. He came with 3, she came with 3, and they have a child together. And the dynamic is beautiful. Why? Because I took them through the entire rudiment of all the difficulties, and they were able to come out with harmony. And I was saying, don't go into this lightly. Don't think that this is easy. And I think, honestly, then when we do these things and bring the Holy Spirit into it, I think we can have a successful relationship.
I like this. What a note to end on, because, being described as madness, almost difficult. Is there really, as you say, harmony at the end of the story? Well, we've had the testimony that it is possible. But next week when we come back, I want us to we're going to be looking at blended families, children. That's right, blended families and children. Because as Pastor Bino asked, good evening to Pastor Bino in the chat, what about when there's a biological child in the midst of it, even in the midst of the blended family? I heard Sinclair and Kevin talk about what happens when you have to spend time with the addition to the family plus your biological children. Those dynamics are dynamics that need to be explored, and we're going to be looking at that next week, Monday, for Men on Monday. I want to say thanks to Pastor Bino. Good evening to you. Good evening to all of you who are in the chat who've been contributing, and those of you who've been viewing silently. We will have our replay live for you on our YouTube channel, so feel free to look out for that tomorrow. We'll have it live on our YouTube channel, and then hopefully in the couple coming weeks we'll be able to share with you live on YouTube also. So thanks to Minister Kevin, Minister Sinclair, Bishop Mark with us this evening. Those of you who've been joining us and commenting and taking in the nuggets shared this evening. Thanks also to Brian behind the scenes. I am Marissa Boyce, and that has been today's edition of Men on Monday. We look forward to having you join us next Monday, 7:30, right here on Unifying Families. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, Women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families. Transformation happens here on Unifying Family. Men on Monday, Women on Wednesday. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Unifying Family, building strong families.